Hello folks, today I'm going to walk you through the Qt Creator IDE. It is the de facto IDE you should use to develop Qt applications. I've been getting many questions about where to find things in Qt Creator, and I thought it might be a good idea to do a walkthrough video tutorial on it. So here we are, let's get started. First thing you see when you open Qt Creator is this screen here. Let's create a project first. You hit a File, New, Project. We choose Application, and it's a Qt widget application that we want to create in this video. But you see that you can create a whole bunch of applications. You can create a console application. You can create Qt quick applications using QML. We're not going to talk about QML now. It's another subject. But you see that you can also create other types of projects. You can create a library. You can create a non-Qt project. You see C application, C++ application. And you can import other projects, even from version control systems like Git, Mercurial. In this video, we're going to just do a Qt widget application. So click on this and hit choose. We're going to give it a name, Qt Creator. Demo. It's going to be stored here. This is the location where you want to save your project. You can click on browse here and choose where you want to save it on your computer. Okay, so I'm going to leave it to this, and you can choose to leave it as the default location for your project. So we're going to hit next, and we're given this screen here. This is where we choose the kit we want to target with our application. I'm going to explain more on kits, but right now, just choose one. So we hit next. And here they give us the widget class that we want to base our application on. Here you see that you can choose Q main window, Q widget, Q dialog. We're going to choose Q widget right now and hit next. It gives us an overview of the files that we have in the project. You see we have a PRO file, we have a widget CPP file, widget.h file, and a widget.ui file. So we hit next. This is okay. And the project is going to be generated. Okay, so the app is here. We just created our first project. The first thing I want to show you is how to run a project that you just generated in Qt Creator. And you do that by hitting this button here. So let's hit it. And if you open this compile output pane, you're going to see the process of compiling your application. And our app is here. It's not exciting, but it's a good start. When you're developing your software using Qt Creator, the process is really coming the source files, editing your changes, coming to the forms here, and adding your UI components. For example, we can add a button here. So we can make it say click me. By double clicking in the button, it gives you a text edit when you can type your thing. Let's put the button in the middle here. Let's run the app again, and it's going to show our button this time. Okay, so this is the basic usage of Qt Creator when you're writing your user interfaces. If you look on the left here, we have a few tabs. We have a welcome tab that shows you projects you've been working on. I'm not going to click on it because it's going to show projects I'm working on, and they're not open for the world to see yet. So the second one here says edit, and it's where you edit your source code. So you hit this and you click on whatever file that you want to edit. The third one is activated when you touch on a UI file. So if you look here, we have selected the main CPP file, but the design tab is grayed out. You cannot use it. But notice that when I double click on widget.ui, it becomes active. So this is the tab you use to look at the UI components in your application. So down here, we have a debug tab that we use to debug our applications. And you see that when we click on it, we have a window here that gives us critical information when we are debugging our application. So to see this, let's put a breakpoint in our main function. By now, you should know that every C or C++ application have a main function where everything starts. We're going to come here and we're going to put in include IO stream, and we're going to say Qt is about to take over. Okay, so we say this, and inside Q application initialized. Okay, let's say you just want this this output to be shown in your app. So on the start here, when we are in the main function, I'm going to put a breakpoint. Okay, we are in the debug tab here, and if you hit this start debugging button, your app is going to run, and you see that it is compiling right now. It is starting. You see that we just stopped on line number 7 here. So what you can do is step into the application. Okay, so step over. You see that it executes this line and goes to the line number 8. Okay, so if you do that again, let's hit this button here, step over. And as you click, you see that the error here goes around. So we can click on this again, and the Qt application now is run. So when you hit this return a exec, Qt takes over. The UI is initialized, and that's where Qt takes over to control the main event loop of things you do on your user interface components. So now you know how to use this debug tab. It's for debugging your application, and it's very important for new people to understand. If you look at the other tab here, okay, so let's stop debugging. We click this button to stop all that. If you come to the projects tab, it's where you see the configurations for your project. So this may be intimidating for new people, but I'm going to come to this in a moment. The last tab here gives you the Qt documentation, and Qt documentation is the best documentation I've ever seen in the C++ developer community. So basically what you can do here is you open this tab and you type what you want to look for. For example, if I want to see how Q font dialogues work in Qt, I can do Q font dialog, hit the button, and it gives me the documentation for that class. I can go through this. Okay, they even give you examples of how you can do that. Let's go back to our UI. Okay, so we go here. I right click on the button. As I go to slot, I choose click here, hit OK, and I have a slot here. So what we usually do is copy things here. Okay, so you paste your things in here, and what is going to happen is if I click on this button in the UI, the code in the slot is going to be executed. Okay, so I'm probably going to do tutorials on signals and slot in Qt because I also get a lot of questions about this. But basically, it's a way to respond to events. User clicks on a button and the code here executes. So let's run the application by clicking on the green arrow button here. And it tells us Q font dialog has not been declared. So what we want to do is to come on top here and say include Q font dialog. and you see that it is recognized now. So let's run the application again. Okay, you see the UI is up. Let's click on the button and you see that we see a dialog to select the font. We didn't write any code, okay? So we just used things from the Qt documentation. And it's okay to do this. I know some people might be biased on thinking copying things from the doc is not good, but it's a good start when you are trying to build your own things. So by now you know what these tabs do in Qt Creator. You use them to do different things and you should know that. Let's go in Tools here, in the Tools menu. Let's click Options and choose Build Run in the options here. And you're going to see 4 tabs on the right section here. Okay, so you see General. We're not going to look at this. What I want you to see is these four things: kits, Qt versions, compilers, debuggers. So let's define what a kit is. A kit is a combination of tools you use to target a given platform. Let's say you know that Qt is used to develop cross-platform applications, right? Let's say that I have a project that targets Windows, Mac, Linux. So what a kit does is allow you to define different configurations depending on the platforms that you target. So we can configure a Windows kit, a Mac kit, and a Linux kit. And Qt is going to bundle everything you need to run on that platform in one bundle that Qt calls a kit. So if you look on the kit here, you see that we have a kit that is defined that is called Desktop Qt 5100 MinGW 32-bit. So this kit has a lot of information attached to it. All that information can be seen down here. So a kit has a name, which is this one in this particular case. It has a device that is targeted. It's a local PC, desktop. That's what we target. You see the compiler we are using, MinGW. You see the version. And we also are using MinGW, the same version for C++. You see the debugger we are using, it's this one. The Qt version is Qt 510. And from this, you can see that a kit is really a bundle of the tools that you use to target a given platform. In the case here, we have our compiler, our debugger, our Qt version, CMake tools. You can configure that here. And these different pieces of information for a kit are configured in these other tabs. So for example, if you look at the Qt versions I have installed on my computer right now, there's a Qt 510 MinGW 32-bit. There's Qt 55 for MinGW equally. There's Qt 55 for Microsoft Visual Studio Compiler 2013. And the 64-bit version for that compiler. Okay, so I can choose any of these Qt versions to build my app. Now we've seen Qt versions. If we click on the compilers tab, you see the compilers that I have detected on my computer. I have a bunch of them installed because I do a lot of Qt development these days. And you can choose any of this. You can see that I have Microsoft Visual Studio installed and the compiler that comes with it. You can also see that I have MinGW. Our debugger is GNU GDB, and it comes with your Qt installation if you choose to use MinGW as your compiler. What is really important is debugger, compiler, version, and you bundle all of this into a kit that you use to target a given platform. I hope this makes sense. If you want to add a new kit, you click on this new button to add a new kit, and you see that they add it for you. And you can configure all these things. Okay, so I'm going to remove this because I don't need it. And equally, you can add a new Qt version if you know where you have it installed. You can add a compiler. You can add a debugger if you want. Okay, so Qt is very flexible in this. And then if you have added your tools in here, you can bundle them into a kit. So after you have your kits configured, how do you choose and use them? you come on the lower section of Qt Creator here. You see that we are running a debug profile for our app. A profile is a state you want to run your application in. There used to be only debug and release profiles in Qt Creator. So they added something in between that is called profile. From what I've read, it's kind of an in-between state. It's like a release build of your application, but it allows you to do some debugging. I'm going to add a link to a Stack Overflow link that talks about that in the description on the video, so you can look at that if you are interested. But mainly what many people use are the debug build for your app that you use to debug your application. We actually did that in a moment. And you have a release build that you release to your users. So if you have developed your application, you think it's good, it doesn't have any bugs anymore, and you are happy with the state of the app, this is what you do. You do a release build and then you distribute your application to your users. So once you choose a build profile, you see here that our kit is displayed here. Okay, so where do we configure the kit to be used in our build flavor for our application? You come here in projects, we look at this, we're going to come back here. We have our kits here again. Our kits are automatically detected by Qt Creator, and they are listed here. You can see Qt Desktop, Qt 510, MinGW. You can see MinGW for Qt 5.5. You can see Visual Studio 2013. Okay, so if you want to use another kit, it's a matter of clicking it here. And when you choose it in here and come back down here and the build profile, you see that we have choices for the kits that we want to use. So you can choose whatever kit you want. So if we want to build our application using Qt 5.5, we choose the kit for Qt 5.5, and we can run a release version of our app using Qt 5.5. I'm actually going to do this, so let's click on this. And if you look at compile output, you see that our app is compiling. And from the output here, you can even see that it's using Qt 5.5. And the result is the same because this is a basic application. But Qt updates usually include updates you want. So if it's possible for your project, you should use the latest version of Qt. Okay, so we're going to switch back to Qt 5.10. And we're going to run a release mode of our application. Okay, so by now you know how to use all these tabs in Qt Creator. You know how to configure your kits. This is very important in Qt Creator. And you know what different build flavors you have. And to recap, we have a debug build flavor, we have a profile build flavor, and we have a release build flavor. And with all these flavors, you use your configured Qt kits to target different platforms. Okay, the last thing I want to cover in this video is look at the tabs here at the bottom. So we have a compile output. We just saw this. This gives the output of the complete build process as your application is being built. So if we hit run, you're going to see things happening in here. And this is your build process. If there is something wrong, this is where you see the error. And you can see all kinds of information in here. For example, this is the Qt. We are using Qt 5.10 to build our application, the libraries that are being loaded and things like that. The application output is what you output in your application, really. For example, you can see the output we put in our main function. Okay, so if we go back there and you can see we put all this standard C++ output here, and you can see it in the output of our application. This is where you see your output, and it's very important if you are trying to debug your application. If you put some kind of information to kind of know what is happening, this is where you look. The compile output, application output are things you really want. Okay, the other tab you want to look at is the issues tab. it's where problems show up when there's a problem with your app. So I'm going to remove this semicolon here and rebuild my application. So I'm going to go in the menu here, select rebuild all from my application. Okay. And you see that my issues show up here. The search result is where your search results show up. Okay, so for example, if you want to search for UI in the entire project and you search, you see your search results in here. Okay, and they show you where your search string appears in the application. Okay, this is my overview of Qt Creator. I hope it was helpful to you, and if you would like to see more videos like this, please do subscribe, because I happen to do videos like this now and then. And also please do visit our website, because we have tons and tons of written content you might be interested in. The link is in the description below. For now, I hope this has been informative to you. Until next time, bye.